David, welcome to Talk Satellite here at Satellite 24 in Washington, D.C.
Hello, Kevin. Thanks very much for having us on your program.
Can you bring us up to speed on what's been happening at Ultisat over the last 12 months?
It's been an interesting time. Over the last 12 to 24 months, we've been investing heavily in new products and services. I think as you're probably seeing here at the show, there are a lot of new technologies, low Earth orbit services, new antenna systems for a variety of different applications. And one of the things that we pride ourselves on at Ultisat is really looking at what the entire industry has to offer, bring it in-house, test it in a live environment, and then figure out which ones do we think are ready to recommend for our customers. So in the last year, we've become an authorized reseller and integrator for Starlink and for OneWeb, as well as we have launched our own geo-based government-grade satellite network we call GC5, which incorporates a lot of the security elements that you need in a government-only network.
Can you provide more detail on GC5?
Sure. So GC5 stands for really kind of the 5 C's, command, control, cyber, communications, computing, and the G obviously is for government. In an age where LEO is getting a lot of the industry press, GEO still has a very strong play, especially for defense and national security applications, because the security requirements are higher and the standard performance is higher because lives are at stake if communications goes down. So we developed a product called GC5 that is an off-the-shelf, if you will, government-grade service that includes things like Transec and FIPS 142 certification and encryption, so that governments can bring terminals that they have, for example, and they use on the WGS satellite fleet, and they can bring it and use it on GC5. They can bring their own terminals, or provided they have the appropriate modem, they can buy terminals that will support as well. The benefit of this is that many times government assets, satellite fleets, it's difficult to get time or get bandwidth on those fleets. GC5 gives customers the ability to buy a commercial service that meets government security standards. So it's available one unit or one subscription at a time, or we can create a private version of the cloud just for a particular customer. So we launched that, really kind of announced it at this show last year, and we closed our first significant customer towards the end of 2023. So we are now live across the United States and kind of the CONUS operating area.
Resiliency is becoming ever more important to customers. How is Ultisat approaching this issue?
I think the biggest thing that we're seeing is customers don't want to be restricted to only one type of link at a remote site. Historically, a customer might have a portable GEO, or they might have an Inmarsat terminal, and that was sort of all they had. Maybe they had a satellite phone as backup in case that went down. But increasingly, we live in a world where everything requires persistent connectivity, and it's no longer kind of asymmetrical, where everything is downstream to the operations in the field. Now, collection of data, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance is requiring a lot of upstream flow as well. Increasingly, our customers are coming to us and saying, look, we need maximum uptime. We love the high speed and the small footprint and the relatively low cost of the LEO services that are coming out, but most of them are really designed for a consumer or commercial grade market. They don't come with service level agreements. They don't come with committed information rates. So they still want some of those same features and benefits that they're used to in the GEO world, but they want the benefits of LEO at the same time. So the way that we're approaching that is something that we call unified multipath connectivity. And this is where we actually use an advanced software-defined networking appliance that we call Sigma Gemini, which basically integrates multiple links together. So you can have a traditional GEO private network, you could have a service like a Starlink or OneWeb, you could have 5G LTE if it's available where you are, and to the end user at the remote site or on the local area network, it's transparent. They don't necessarily know which path their data is taking. It integrates all of them, and so you can get the maximum bandwidth that's available when all of the services are on. If one of them goes out for whatever reason, the traffic automatically reroutes over the others. And one of the things that's unique about this software-defined networking is the ability to aggregate and treat all of these links as though they're just one big link, as opposed to sort of toggling between them when one goes on or off.
How best can your customers leverage the benefits of that LEO SATCOM and the same quality of service they are used to from GEO?
That's a great question. It's precisely why we developed the Unified Multipath Connectivity, or UMC as we call it for short. So in that path, you have the ability to take LEO and combine it with GEO, or combine it with 5G, or even combine it with terrestrial, with microwave, with troposcatter. Kind of any kind of link technology will work with UMC, provided that there's an IP connection, right? Basically, we integrate all the different forms of communications, and they all have different waveforms, they all have different latency, they all have different design parameters, but as long as you can integrate them at the IP layer, we have the ability to create that contiguous environment. So that's one way that our customers are looking to leverage LEO, is by streaming it into other forms of connectivity. The other approach that we have taken is what we call high availability LEO, or HAL for short, HAL, and this is where we actually take Starlink and OneWeb together as examples, and we bond them through our Sigma Gemini software-defined networking platform. So this way you can actually get the collective maximum data rate of both terminals at the same time, and you can get the resiliency that comes from having two separate links that are operating. And there's also some trade-offs. OneWeb, for example, has service plans that do include a committed information rate, whereas Starlink doesn't, but Starlink has higher data rates on some plans. So there's trade-offs and benefits to each one. So if you can combine them together into this high availability solution that's really two different LEO links with different terminals on different constellations, it really adds to the overall resiliency.
Technology advancement, where do you see future innovation reflecting in your OpEx and CapEx?
You know, it's a great question. You know, I think one of the things that has changed for us is that building satellite networks historically, especially in the GEO world, was all about building private networks. It was selecting a hub and a modem technology from one of the many vendors, like a Comtech, a Gilad, a Hughes, Viasat, iDirect, whoever was best fit for that customer, procuring the bandwidth, landing at one of our teleports, and then having the terrestrial network to send that traffic somewhere. Increasingly, what our customers are looking for, and so where we're investing, is how do you integrate multiple forms of connectivity at the same remote site and have it be seamless? Because a lot of times the people in the field are not necessarily communications experts, they're operators. So they need something that is sort of push button simple, but at the same time has the complexity to be able to support multiple links, multiple resiliency, redundancy paths at the same time. So a lot of our investments are really in kind of the simplicity of the packaging, of building more ruggedized kits. For example, one of the terminals that we have here at the show takes a Starlink traditional antenna, one of their high-performance flat panel platforms, and is integrated into a ruggedized case with military connectors, including Wi-Fi modem, so you can create a small Wi-Fi space around that terminal, as well as the Sigma Gemini UMC software-defined networking appliance I described before. So we're investing a lot of time in the integration and in simplifying the packaging, simplifying the GUI interface so that our customers can simply go to a portal and see what's my data rate, how are my sites up or down. At a remote site where maybe I'm using unified multipath connectivity, which links are running, you know, which one am I sending my traffic over most of the time? Creating that kind of enhanced visibility, but in a way that is easy for the end user to digest and utilize.
What market sectors do you envisage your growth coming from?
For Ultisat, we really focus on kind of three sectors, government, both, defense and civilian government agencies. In the humanitarian aid space is a big market for us, and then also in critical infrastructure. Now that we're sort of free of the cloud of COVID and sort of the supply chain challenges and all the rest, we're seeing growth in all of those areas, particularly with allied governments around the world. With the hostilities going on in Ukraine right now, concerns in the Pacific about potential aggression in different areas there, we're seeing a lot of spending from our near allies, so NATO allies and others, Five Eyes, for example, that are upgrading their communications capabilities. Because what's interesting is while there are more options today with new LEO satellite constellations coming on board, we've also all seen in the news that adversaries are attempting to jam those commercial services. So finding a way to invest and focus on making those solutions more resilient is important, particularly for those government customers. But it's not just for military missions or for security missions. One of our largest customer sets is humanitarian. We support multiple agencies within the United Nations, and there's been a massive flow of refugees leaving Ukraine because of the Russian war there. And so our customers, different agencies from the UNHCR to UNICEF and others, need remote communications in order to help process refugees who are looking for a place to stay. So that is a big part of the market that's growing. And then critical infrastructure is also becoming an area where we're seeing a lot of focus because of the fact that now cyber attacks are a concern. People have concerns about multiple vectors, threat vectors into a power grid or into a pipeline or into a water supply. And so being able to provide high resiliency communications to make sure you can always track those sensors or see what's going on at those remote operations is another area where customers are coming to us looking for new and innovative solutions, not just the same thing they've been doing for decades.
David, thank you very much. We wish you every success.
Thanks very much again, Kevin. Appreciate you having us on your program.